News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 4:03. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by U&I Furniture. It's the end of an era for once critical pandemic documents. The ubiquitous white COVID-19 vaccination cards are being phased out. Now, the COVID-19 vaccines are not being distributed by the federal government. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has stopped printing new cards. The federal government shipped more than 980 million cards between late 2020, when the first vaccines came out, through May 10th, according to the latest available data from the CDC. Federal and local health officials do not expect the discontinuation of the cards to be a particularly big change, since the days of keeping them tucked in purses and wallets to ensure entry into festivals, bars, and restaurants are largely over. If you've held on to your card, it's still valid as a proof of vaccination. Otherwise, people who need their COVID-19 immunization records will need to request them just like any other vaccine. In many cases, the clinic, pharmacy, or health department that provided the shot can provide those records. Every state and some cities have an immunization registry, though rules vary on when records are included and options for obtaining copies of your records. Records from the mass vaccination sites held early in the pandemic also should be available in those registries, depending on state laws. There is no national registry for immunization records. KVNU News Time is 4:04. KVNU weather for tonight: clear skies, low around 40, and then sunny into the low 70s, around 71 tomorrow, sunny around 72 on Saturday. It's been to 64 so far. It's 63 right now at KVNU. Be sure and call Whole Tree Care. They trim, shape, and remove trees. Give them a call at 435-760-6587.
Is it time to upgrade or transform your dining area? Stop in and browse U&I Furniture's big selection of dining sets. U&I just picked up a spectacular assortment from different brand name manufacturers. They have small tables for two, up to a big table for all family gatherings. U&I has lots of options, some with benches and swivel stools. And make sure you check out the chairs U&I has. Accent chairs, recliners, upholstered chairs, and more. There really is always a better buy at U&I. U&I Furniture in downtown Logan.
KVNU News Time is 4:05. On the Direct Link statewide broadcast from the Utah Broadcasters Association, heard on KVNU on Monday evening, Utah Governor Spencer Cox was asked how Utahns can influence what happens in Washington, D.C. on a federal level.
At a minimum, we have to vote. I think voting is really important, but there's so much more we can do than that. If we want our country to survive, I'm very worried about how divided we are. I was meeting with an expert. Her name is Rachel Kleinfeld. She studies failed democracies all over the world and throughout history. And through her research, she has a checklist of everything that happens in these countries and states when they fail, and how it happens over time. And she will tell you that we are checking all of those boxes.
He said Kleinfeld fears that in a decade or two, the U.S. will be on its way to a failure of its democratic institutions. So part of the solution, Cox said, is for individuals to make a difference first in their own communities. He said the United States is a republic and states are supposed to be as powerful as the federal government. He said they are working as governors to reestablish that. It has been nearly 2 months since a Utah woman's death in Anchorage, Alaska. On Wednesday, her husband, 21-year-old Zarius Hildebrand, was due back in court. In August, he was charged with murder and tampering with evidence after his wife, Soraya Barney Hildebrand, was found dead after a multi-day search in August. Soraya's mother, Meredith Barney, flew to Anchorage to be in the courtroom at the Nesbitt Courthouse for what she says was a discovery hearing. Barney explained that after waiting about an hour, the judge decided to do a continuance regarding the hearing for later this month. Barney's daughter was serving as a combat medic in the Alaska Army National Guard at the time of her death. According to court documents, back in August, investigators learned Zarias bought several supplies, including a set of sheets, a mattress cover, hydrogen peroxide, and a 96-gallon garbage can. Police would execute a search warrant, finding blood in the couple's home. They eventually found Zarias' body inside a storm drain near the couple's home with a gunshot wound to her head. KBNU News Time is 4:08. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs, recognizing first responders and other deserving individuals in our community. Friday mornings at 8:30 on News Talk KVNU.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. We have some super exciting news. We're thrilled to announce our brand new store in Tooele. We have been hoping to expand to Tooele for years and finally found the perfect spot. In the heart of the city, Alpine is located just north of Walmart off Main Street. This store will be just like our others. We offer massive selection of home medical supplies. Do you need a CPAP? We've got it. Power scooter? Yep, you're in the right place. Need assistance in your home? We'll get you all set up. Keep your expectations high. We really do have the best staff in the state. You should know we accept most major insurances and can work directly with your provider to get you the care you need. We'll be ready when you need us, so come on by anytime. We're excited to see you in Tooele.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
That's alpinehomemedical.com.
I've got a math question for you. When you add tolerance, subtract prejudice, and multiply efforts to treat one another with respect, what do you get? Less division. And school sports have it down to a science. Looking for an example of what can happen when we realize there's more that unites us than divides us? Look no further than high school sports in Utah.
This message presented by the Utah High School Activities Association and the Utah Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVN News for the people. It is Thursday, October 5th. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter here in the studio as well. Congressman Blake Moore joining us at the top of hour 2 of today's show. His first live interview since the circus that has played out over the last week or so in the House of Representatives. No one knows really at this point what is going to happen. Currently, the House has no speaker. And some infighting among Republicans. Matt Gaetz, who triggered this all, representative from Florida, seems to be the least popular member of Congress with Republicans right now. Congressman Moore will weigh in, share his thoughts on what happened, what happens next. That's coming up at 5 o'clock today. Right now, it is time to put all of that aside for an hour, our little refresher hour each week, as I've come to think of it, with Charlie Schill here in the studio for the People Theater Hour. And Charlie, I know you always come with a lot of things to talk about, but if we can jump right to it, I shed a tear at your article at Cache Valley Daily announcing and explaining something we rarely have this to talk about, something actually being removed from the calendar of events, from the dance card.
And that was Young Frankenstein by the Cash Theater Company.
I was so disappointed. That's one I was really, really looking forward to. It's a good time.
Well, you know, we had Brian Lenhart here in the studio in July, and he was talking about the Lionheart Hall opening up.
Yeah.
And he was the first one who announced that they were going to do Young Frankenstein. And it certainly fits with the modus operandi, I guess you could call it, that the way they've been handling themselves lately. They have really been working to create a niche for themselves, that they do these small, quirky musicals that are much more contemporary than what most theater groups here in town do.
Yeah.
Legally Blonde, Spamalot. I would have thought that Young Frankenstein was right up their alley.
Yeah, I thought it was perfect. I thought it was also a welcome addition to the overall calendar, and just disappointed to hear. But it sounds like this wasn't anyone's preference, right? No one stepped up and said, you know what, let's just not do this. It was a combination of things, and the theater company will now be focusing on something else instead this fall, which I forget what they're calling that. It's a
Panoramic Academy.
Okay, like a training academy kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. They've got a studio out north of 14th Street on Main Street, and they're running different sessions of this academy. On different days, and more power to them if they can do it.
Yeah.
One of the sessions is already sold out. I know. They launched it in September. The academy.
It's a good idea. It's just disappointing that
the only other theater company that does that on a full-time basis is the Festival Opera.
Yeah.
They've got their conservatory.
I think these things are good because they build that bench. They bring talent up and in.
Mm-hmm.
But if I've never had to think about it this way, but if it's a transaction kind of thing where it's that or a production, I'm hesitant to say this is a better use of their time. If that's what it means, is they're not going to have a fall show. And then, not to get all conspiratorial, but I wonder if there's more to the story behind it. But a really unfortunate announcement, one way or another.
There's some comments on the website that are...
Yeah, I saw some of those.
Yeah, you saw those. All right.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get into them.
Yeah, because it's just Facebook comments. But, yeah, unfortunate, to say the least. It doesn't mean there isn't anything to go see, though. That's the silver lining in all of this, right?
That's for sure. What occupied me last weekend was the play that goes wrong at Picklville.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one heck of a show.
Selling out like crazy. Word must have gotten around on this
Oh,
fast.
yeah. It's a play within a play, and it operates on more levels than a freight elevator, because you've got the performers. Okay, you've got actors acting as performers in a play. So everybody is playing two roles.
Sure.
The role in the play within a play, and they're playing themselves, and in the midst of the play that goes wrong, there's plenty of opportunity for the actor persona, the character who is part of this theater group. You get to spot, okay, that's the character in the play they're performing. that's the character. That's the character of the actor performing that role, and so everybody's got two roles, and it's really funny.
That's the play itself is hilarious. Just the book, but there's, I think, something about this team of people and the
oh yeah.
They know how to do something like this, and also what was interesting is also kind of make it their own. There were very Picklville moments. Is the only way I can think to say it without giving anything away. But,
yeah, and you don't want to give too much away.
No,
but
the use of the stage again.
Yeah, a tiny stage.
So impressive.
They worked it really well. The thing between Kenzie Kremen and J.C. Harris, where they're fighting to get back on stage in the roles. I mean, that's like a WWE cage match, for God's sake.
Yeah.
and it's really, really, really well done. And I'm, and Kenzie has got this quirky little smile on her face every time she bashes JC's head in with, several things.
Yeah.
She's just wild. She's great.
It's
they're all good. They're all good.
Very talented people, and as I was thinking about this, so I talked to some folks who were disappointed it wasn't Addams Family again, and they explained why they liked Addams Family, and this has all of that. I was thinking.
Well, the only thing that's missing is the music.
Yeah, but it has the humor that made Addams Family so fun, and then the
part of the Addams Family is that you're familiar with the characters. You know what to expect, and they play to that very well. Kenzie is just amazing when she puts on that wig and goes all Wednesday on us.
Yeah.
But the trick with the play that goes wrong is their timing is so critical.
Yeah.
And right from the word go, it's Katie bar the door, high energy all the time, right to the final curtain, and they're working very hard. Let's say it that way. I'm about to make a more colorful illusion there, and Bill is ready to cut me off. I can see it coming.
I can see where you're going though, and it's perfect.
Yeah,
it's the perfect illusion.
They've done a great job.
It's just really impressive, and there are plenty of opportunities for you to still see this, but it is selling out.
It's in you're going to see it in little pieces.
Yeah, and it's so don't put it off till the last minute if you have a preferred date.
If you want to take a family in to see it, you
all sit together.
You have a critical time period. You better book tickets now.
Yeah, I was just looking through earlier today ahead of the show, and it's picked over on some of these shows.
It's going fast.
Yeah, word's getting around fast.
Well, and normally their shows run from like Wednesday through Saturday. This is just weekends. Friday night, Saturday in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Though I imagine if they sell out enough, they'll figure on scheduling a couple of extra performances somewhere, but I don't know where.
Yeah, that's
or maybe that last weekend of Halloween.
Yeah, that's that would be the last weekend of Halloween. Would be. I'm assuming a lot of people are maybe thinking that would have been a fun time. Don't wait. It's not worth missing. It's really good. So, Charlie Schill, our guest here in the studio. Join us, 753-5868. We'll be back right after this.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Friday on This Morning, America's First News. As the spotlight shines on the infighting that led to the ouster of House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, what will it mean for frontline congressional races? Also, the Army is changing the way it pursues potential soldiers. It's taking a page from the private sector as it fails to meet recruiting targets. And the performance fabrics giving us body odor at the office. Friday on This Morning, America's First News. Tomorrow morning from 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer.
In response to attacks against Asian Americans, Maddie Park raised over $250,000 to donate cab rides to the Asian community.
There is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
Support the Asian community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor. Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Visit managerbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, why don't you go where fashion sits?
Little shout out to Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, Young Frankenstein, yeah.
That's one recommendation if you're disappointed like me that the show here in Cache Valley has been canceled and will not be happening at the Lionheart Theater thereafter all this fall. Go watch the movie. You'll quickly forget your sadness.
Yeah,
that's one I can watch over and over.
The movie's playing Monday and Wednesday at the Utah Theater at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And if you're really dying to see the musical version, they're doing it at the Egyptian Theater in Park City all during November.
Through the whole month, right?
Yep, pretty much.
I might make that drive. Now that I had my hopes up for being able to see it,
well, there could be a good reason not to do Young Frankenstein. Like,
yeah,
you don't have anybody tall enough to play the monster.
Yeah, that's. I think that's a challenge, and then also it's such a where there is this movie that's so famous. You have to do it right. You have to do it in a way that's not disappointing to people who've seen the movie, but also isn't just a live recreation of the movie.
That's a tightrope you got to walk.
Yeah. So I'm sure a million things could have gone wrong, but I hope they try it again next fall, or someone does at least. The USU lineup this year, I found a Facebook group full of students, and they were talking about going out to see the shows from McCain College, and there was a comment from a student. Student said, they're taking risks. And I remembered you and I had talked about that they'd done sort of thematic elements of previous seasons where there obviously is something.
A thematic connection between the plays. When they were doing, and I don't remember whether it was last year or the year before, I think it was the year before, there was a family connection in every one of the shows.
That's right.
There was The Moors, which was kind of a gothic horror thing.
Yeah.
Then there was Being Near to Baby, which was supposedly a kid's show, but had a lot of adult themes to it.
I was surprised that was billed as a show for children. I mean, it wasn't R-rated or anything like that, but it was. It was over their heads.
I saw they had a videotape that they posted, and the kids were laughing, and I can remember sitting there in the audience and, with an adult audience, and nobody was laughing, but the kids were. So, when you pack in 1,200 school kids, into that auditorium, or 600, whatever it is. I don't know what size the Morgan Theater really is, but maybe they were playing different to emphasize the comedy of that show. Waiting for Lefty. That's the next show that they're going to do.
I'm intrigued by this one.
Well, it's from the 1930s. Was written by Clifford Odets, and prior to World War II, you saw a lot of shows where people were toying with socialist ideas.
Yeah.
And things like, and you saw it even in the movies, things like Sullivan's Travels, and
forgot about that.
The
one.
Grapes of Wrath, and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Yeah.
Though that's red, white, and blue patriotic, but again, it's there's all this corruption in Washington, and we got to go clean it up. Well, that played with socialism to
a large extent.
Yeah, and thank goodness World War II killed that pretty much.
Yeah. Which is, it was...
And then the Cold War.
In academia, too, it was, in the decades before World War II, it was almost an elite thing to do, to go explore these alternate political systems.
Which is why so many people in Hollywood got in trouble with it.
Yeah. Yeah, because some took it seriously. For some, it wasn't just an academic pursuit to learn something about another political system. A movement started to build around it. Mm-hmm. And so you see a lot of the entertainment prior to that wouldn't have been considered controversial became controversial. And as I understand it, this Waiting for Lefty was one of those. There was a period when no one would do it just because of some of the themes it plays with.
Yeah.
But
nowadays... I think it's probably good for kids in college to delve into this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I hope they take the right messages from it. But.
Yeah. It's for those, who aren't familiar with it, it's basically about organized labor, but it's told in a interesting way.
Yeah.
The way the story plays out.
Yeah, and it's told in little vignettes, and eventually you begin to see how they all connect.
Yeah, I used to really struggle with that format, the vignette format, because you feel sort of ripped from the story every 20 minutes or so, and I didn't care for it. But I've learned to kind of appreciate it as a storytelling format because it allows you to sort of make...
And introduce all kinds of different characters as well.
This is a fascinating one to see. And it starts the 13th, right? Is that the first show?
I think so.
Yeah, October 13th. I may have clicked on the wrong thing there. Yes, October 13th, the first show. And tickets are on sale now. The For the People Theater Hour continues with Charlie Schill here in the studio. Join us, 753-5868. Plenty more to get to after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:32. The news is brought to you by Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. A judge has dismissed a criminal case against former Cottonwood Heights City Council member Tally Bruce, citing misconduct by the city's police department. The ruling comes after the discovery that two officers allegedly withheld information just before the case went to trial. Bruce was initially charged with interfering with an officer stemming from an August 2020 incident during a rally for Zane James, who was shot and killed by police. According to Jeremy Delacino, Bruce's defense attorney, the judge told the parties that this is the first time he can remember in the last 20 years of being a judge that he dismissed for this type of conduct. The judge dismissed the charge with prejudice, meaning the case cannot be brought back to court. Bruce has long claimed that she was unfairly targeted by the Cottonwood Heights Police Department. Delacino argued that the two officers involved in the case made misleading statements leading up to the trial. These officers should have disclosed previous misconduct related to the incident for which Bruce was being prosecuted. In response to the dismissal, the Cottonwood Heights mayor, Michael Weikers, issued a statement that the city is disappointed with the decision and is considering legal options. The city will not comment further on the legal matter. Delacino also mentioned that while the criminal case is over, he's looking into notifying POST about the officer complaints. There is still a pending civil case related to the matter. And a young child was critically injured after falling out of a window in Harriman on Wednesday. Harriman police said the victim, a 5-year-old boy, was waving to his mother through the window screen when it gave way and he fell out. This happened on the second story of a home. The boy was airlifted to Primary Children's Hospital. He is in critical condition. KBNU News Time is 4:34.
My hearing started to go right around the same time my wife started naming off all the upgrades she wanted done on the house. I figured it was selective hearing. To be honest, I was actually pretty upset when it was suggested that I might need hearing aids, but ultimately I knew it was time for a change.
At Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology, we can help you regain the confidence that you're hearing life the way it was meant to be heard.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Visit CacheHearing.com for details.
It's day 2 for a strike by tens of thousands of Kaiser Permanente employees who want better pay and working conditions. Patricia Johnson-Gibson's a union official in Denver.
The important part is just getting the staffing. We're so short-staffed. We have people doing endless hours of overtime in order to help support this organization.
The strike will continue for a third and final day tomorrow. The union says a larger strike is possible next month if no deal is reached. Vice President Harris was among the speakers at today's memorial for Dianne Feinstein.
Simply put, she was a force.
Feinstein, who was the city's first woman mayor as well, died last week at the age of 90. A U.S. fighter jet shot down a Turkish drone armed with air-to-surface missiles in the area of U.S. ground troops in Syria. Customs agents poo-pooed the plans of a woman from Iowa who said she wanted to make jewelry with giraffe feces that she packed in her luggage on a trip from Kenya. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
KBNU weather for tonight, clear skies, overnight low in the low 40s, around 41, and then sunny into the low 70s tomorrow, sunny, low 70s on Saturday. It's been to 64 so far this afternoon. It's 63 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. Make sure to stop into the Logan location to see the new, huge washers and dryers. So many more to serve you and get you in and out quicker. Mount Logan Laundry, located in Logan and Brigham City. Get more news at CacheValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Branch Office Administrator Brittany Chambers bringing you the daily financial market report on behalf of financial advisor Daryl Arnell and Edward Jones. Crude oil prices finished lower Thursday, closing the day around $82 per barrel, the lowest in over a month. Today's move lower follows yesterday's sell-off, where oil declined by roughly 5%. A recent spike in gasoline inventories has pressured prices, along with concerns around Chinese economic growth. The energy sector has moved lower in response, down over 5% week to date. The rise in energy prices over the past several months played a large part in the recent move higher in headline inflation. A sustained pullback in oil prices could not only be welcomed by consumers at the gas pump, but also by central banks as it relates to inflation. Today, U.S. equities closed lower. The Dow closed down 10 points or 0.03% at 33,120. The Nasdaq closed down 16 points or 0.12% at 13,220. The S&P 500 closed down by 6 points or 0.13% at 4,258. And in the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 4.71% lower by 0.02 percentage points. In stocks of local interest, Home Depot is down 69 cents to $291.70. Lowe's is up 21 cents to $199.80. Nucor is down 50 cents to $156.43. Pepsi is down $8.81 to $160.10. Thermo Fisher is down $4.43 to $498.02. Walmart is down $1.92 to $159.08. Zions Bank is up 7 cents to $33.40. And Northrop Grumman is down $2.22 to $420.07. This has been today's financial market report brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Darrow Arnell, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
This is Dr. Red, chiropractic physician with Red River Health and Wellness. Are you suffering with fatigue, brain fog, headaches, intestinal issues, weight gain, and you haven't been able to find any answers?
I was struggling with constantly being hot, struggling with not sleeping, being able to fall asleep, stay asleep, or even wake up the next morning. I had very high levels of inflammation and memory loss. Memory loss was the scariest part.
Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
The sleep improved my memory. My memory's coming back. Every time I remember something, I still get really excited. I go walking every morning now, which I've never done before. I've always really wanted to be that type of person that wakes up early enough to enjoy the sunrise. I get to do that every morning now.
Our goal is to teach you and educate you so you know how to manage your condition a lot more effectively and you know what to do and what not to do for the rest of your life.
Schedule your appointment today at 855-55-RIVER. Red River Health and Wellness with offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
Sorry, I don't mean to embarrass you, but I'm a rather brilliant surgeon. Perhaps I could help you with that hump.
What hump?
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Just a quick note, I went in and looked, and tickets to Young Frankenstein in Park City through November, only $35, which is pretty cheap for Park City. So if you're disappointed it's canceled here in Cache Valley, you can get out and see it there. We talked about the Young Frankenstein cancellation. We talked about Waiting for Lefty, which starts next week.
Before we leave the play that goes wrong, I need to talk about Nathan Kremen, who is Kenzie Davis's husband.
Now, what did he do last year?
Oh, he has done tons of stuff. But the thing is,
something really impressive last year.
I didn't like him when I first saw him. He was the new sheriff in town in that melodrama they did, The New Sheriff in Town, and all he did was stand there and yell.
Yeah.
And it bugged me. Okay? And it was simply not a role that showcased his talents at all.
Yeah. That was 3 years ago, right?
I'm not sure.
It was a while ago.
2 years ago, maybe.
Was he the Beast? In Beauty and the Beast?
Yes, he was.
Okay. That was the first time I saw him.
Though I'm not sure he was the prince when he came.
Yeah.
Never mind. That's a long story.
We don't know how that worked.
We don't want to get back into that.
The theater tricks.
He played Ham in the melodrama they did this summer.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I saw him in a role that kind of challenged him, and boy, he was good. And he is excellent in the play that goes wrong. He does an intro as the director of the show for this Conley Society, and he's oh so British, and the dialogue in the show has to be exactly as it was written. But I think these intros were extemporaneous.
Really?
Yeah, because they could get away with that because it's not part of the play, really.
Sure.
But, he makes jokes about, that they've got no cast, so they did 7 brides and 1 brother. And then he makes a joke about it. That played very well with Mormon audiences.
That's funny.
And he does. He works a lot of local humor into this thing. But my hat's off to him. He loses his mind in the middle of the show, and breaks the fourth wall and goes after the audience.
Really?
Oh yeah.
That's fun.
He's good. He's really good.
That's it's nice.
Kenzie, he's a keeper.
It's nice to know that he has a chance to kind of showcase a little bit, because
he
was great as the Beast, but that was also a role that was you just play it a certain way, and and it's hard not to say anyone could have done that well, probably.
Well, under all the makeup, who knows?
You just kind of have to stand there and
could have
grumble
been
a lot.
anybody under all the makeup.
753-5868 if you'd like to join us. We talked about this before, people asking about the tribute band lineup.
Mm-hmm.
It's casharts.org if you'd like to see tickets and showtimes and things like that. But
okay, we got Toast, which is bread.
Yeah, October 14th.
Which is if you're a teenager, you have no idea who Bread is.
Yeah.
But
although 1 or 2 songs you're probably going to hear and think, "Oh, I've heard that."
Yeah, but
playing on the Muzak at my job.
But you didn't particularly like them when you heard it.
That's why I always thought a Bread tribute band was one of the weirdest tribute bands.
Who knows? Maybe
because they were a very mediocre band to begin with.
They had a following.
They did, and they had some hits. And the Carpenters tribute makes more sense.
They kind of remind me of Tears for Fears for some reason.
I never thought about that. Yeah, actually, they do have kind of a similar sound and interesting.
Okay, so we're doing Toast.
Toast on the 14th, October 14th.
We're doing the Carpenters Platinum on
the 21st.
21st, and there's somebody in between there, isn't there?
There's a Zephyr, a Whirlwind Circus.
Yeah. That's another show.
I was intrigued by this until I went and watched some video, and I don't know anymore. I'm very particular about this type of thing, but this is not Cirque du Soleil style circus. This is acrobatics, but this is a narrative, and that intrigues me. That it's an actual story that is going to be told through acrobatics and stage performance, like you'd expect with the word circus in there. And so that I'm going to check that one out. That's October 19th, in between the 2 tribute bands, and then November 1st, Warren Miller's All Time. A collection of Warren Miller's greatest hits, basically, through the years. And then it gets back to the more traditional Eccles Theater stuff with selected shorts, Utah Public Radio and Cash Arts presenting that. That should be interesting.
Okay. And I don't recognize any of the names of people who are going to be performing in selected shorts, with the exception of Richard Mazer.
That doesn't ring a bell.
He's done tons of stuff. He's got a beard and he's old now, but look who's talking about old.
No one can see us.
And he's and I've got a face for radio too.
Me too.
He played the Princeton. And this goes way back in Risky Business.
Oh, really?
He plays the recruiter from Princeton who shows up in the middle of this wild party.
I remember that scene.
To interview Tom Cruise.
That's funny.
And that's the movie that made Tom Cruise a star.
That Yeah, I didn't know.
And Rebecca oh, yeah.
That was a fun show.
Rebecca
and
De Mornay.
In her heyday, yeah.
Oh, wow, she's gorgeous.
And I remember that scene when he
Yes.
shows up, and it's this wild, crazy frat party thing's going on.
And then there's the famous, you know the quote, which we can't repeat.
We can't repeat
It's
here
one
on
of
the
those
radio.
7 words that good old Richard George Carlin.
Yeah, George Carlin's 7 words you can't say on TV and radio.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I miss George Carlin.
Hey, why don't we go ahead and say it, and Bill can cut us off?
Yeah, have your finger on that button, Bill.
And watch the button fail this time.
Yeah.
And we all go to jail. Yes.
We don't have the
FCC stormtroopers arrive.
They kick the door
and
down.
Take us away.
That's
I'll come visit you guys.
That's very cool. He was in that movie. That's and yeah, that's
you remember him now.
Yeah, I remember now. I remember that scene too because it's a really funny scene.
I'm trying to think of what other things he's been on, and he was, in the 70s and 80s, he was on lots of television shows. But I just can't remember any of them.
I'm Googling as fast as I can, but I think I've spelled his name wrong. And then I got distracted because one of the links at Cash Arts to the selected shorts is to one of the selected shorts, which is called Antagonists Wanted. I like that. 3 stories featuring famous villains, real and fictional. A woman writes a letter to a former president who is currently residing in hell. Thank you, Mr. Nixon. And a man in recovery faces off against a former Roman leader who's been hiding out there for years. These sound kind of interesting. That's just part of the selected shorts, and this is also a kind of a showcase on radio at large, right? As I understand it, an appreciation of radio's role in theater and storytelling over the years. And we talked about this before, but man, if you've never gone back and listened to some of those old radio plays, they're everywhere. Yeah, you can find video versions of them on YouTube. You can find them for free in a lot of public domain distribution sites like Open Culture and things like that. But there are some fascinating shows. The Shadow Knows, Ray Bradbury's Story Hour, or whatever it was called. Just really, really good stuff.
Back in the good old days when I was in the service, Armed Forces Network used to broadcast old-time radio on Sunday nights. Jack Benny shows.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Nice stuff. Really good stuff. And,
those Jack Benny shows are funny, too.
And you got things like The Cask of Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe. And, The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe.
That's one of my favorites to listen to in an audio-only format. It works so well as an audio-only presentation. And I just noticed this, Charlie. I think you've talked about this before, but it seemed like news to me. I didn't realize we have a back-to-back ballet presentation. On the 18th, the Grand Kiev Ballet presenting Snow White Ballet at Eccles. And then on the 24th, a 3-night stint starts with the Nutcracker Ballet from Cache Valley Civic Ballet. I didn't realize those were back-to-back. That's nice for the ballet fans, but you're going to be busy 2 weekends in a row. And we've got one more break to get to here. It's the For the People Theater Hour with Charlie Schill in the studio. Join us, 753-5868. We'll be back right after this.
It's homecoming week for our Utah State Aggies. Saturday night on the turf at Merlin Olsen Field, we go to battle versus Colorado State. Any blue-blooded Aggie will prepare to cheer on the Aggies with a visit to Locker 42, a warm new Aggie jacket or hooded sweatshirt, a new Aggie hat or T-shirt in your choice of Aggie blue or fighting white. Locker 42 has a store full of Aggie gear to outfit the true Aggie. Locker 42, always ready for game day.
If you or a loved one has been hurt in an accident, don't wait. Call the advocates today for a free legal consultation. You didn't deserve to be in an accident, but you do deserve an advocate. Chat online at utahadvocates.com or call 801-355-5550.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People Theater Hour. Just a reminder, Congressman Blake Moore joining us at the top of Hour 2. His first live interview since the circus that has played out in the House of Representatives over the last 7-8 days. What we already know, he can't predict who the next speaker is going to be or when that decision might be made. But he said he's willing to share his thoughts on everything else that just happened. So we'll get to that at 5:10. Stick with us.
I don't know why Blake doesn't run to be Speaker of the House.
To be honest with you,
he's got a strong reputation as bipartisan.
He's well liked.
I think
he'd actually be a good speaker too, because he's serious about it actually working. You know, about them actually being able to get something done. He did that deficit commission, and he has some great ideas there. And I think.
I think it's time for a Utah speaker.
Yeah.
Yep.
I honestly, there's never been one, and it is time. And to be honest with you, I don't know that anyone else seems to be really stepping up to be the adult in the room.
I don't think anybody wants to step up.
I wouldn't right now. If I'm in Congress, I lay low. I just make my constituents happy and keep my head down until the dust settles here. Because who knows what is going on here. You've got some...
The problem is, Getz has proven that the Democrats can get rid of a speaker almost any time they want.
Yeah, and that gives him and this other, handful, 7, 8... we'll put it this way. There are these 7 or 8 members of Congress who are more interested in getting themselves on TV and getting clicks on the internet than they are actually doing the job. And now they've learned that they can kind of call the shots.
Yeah, but see, the point is, any eight Republicans that don't have to be Getz and his 8.
Yeah.
Could be any 8. And all of the Democrats can toss the speaker at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
And if the Democrats could make alliances with, instead of real hardline people, real moderates.
Yeah. Or what will be interesting is if you happen to see some moderate Republicans decide, hey, we're going to vote with the Democrats for their speaker nominee. Man, can you imagine the fireworks?
Ooh.
It would be so ugly. But, I mean, it's a possibility that you see that happen. And we've never seen something like this in Congress.
Well, see, Getz got that rule that you can... he brought it in when McCarthy was first brought up during that 2 weeks or so when they had a constant.
It's one of the deals McCarthy made to become speaker was
you can vote me out by one vote.
Which, if I'm the new speaker, first rule I get rid of. First rule to go. Go back to the way it was done before, which made it a lot more difficult to get a motion to vacate happening. But it's we'll talk about this with Congressman Moore because this is a historic moment. It's been 113 years since a motion to vacate the Speaker of the House was even proposed, and that failed. This is the first time. So 113 years since it's happened, and then this time it works. The Speaker's position is vacated. McCarthy goes back to just being a plain old House rep, and right now the fight for the new Speaker has begun, and no one seems to be coalescing around any one person right now. So I have to give this hats off to Congressman Moore for agreeing to the interview. A lot of people are just laying low right now.
That's right.
And I wouldn't blame him if he did. And anyway, we had a text from a listener wanting to know if we had tickets to give away to Trailblazing Women of Country. No, that's March 22nd. It's a ways off, so and I'm not sure we will have any when it comes around.
We ought to try that.
Some contests.
Yeah,
I like the idea of contests. I think Wendy would play along,
particularly those comedy nights.
Oh, that's a good idea, actually. When is the next comedy night? I know there's one in May. Is there one before that?
April, I think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Valentine's Day. That's new.
Oh, that's right. Hey, that'd work.
Who is this, Kevin Bozeman?
I bet we could get Wendy to buy into that.
Let's talk to her.
Yeah.
That could be kind of fun.
And we could even have her on air and she can do the contest.
That's,
to give away the tickets.
Make her do it. She's probably listening right now, just pounding the desk and shut up, you two. She'd do it, though. Let's reach out to her. We'll have her come in, and she can even come up with the trivia question. She could probably make it hard because she knows the full history of the Eccles Theater. We could do Eccles Theater trivia, give away some Cash Arts tickets to a comedy night. Let's propose this. I'll get typing that email right now.
Don't forget, in the next hour, I want you to push Blake Moore for running for speaker.
I will. I'm going to let him know that we both think he should run and see what he says. I'll bet he coughs and just hangs up on me. Charlie, thank you for your time. To our listeners, stay tuned. Congressman Blake Moore, his first live interview after the circus in the House of Representatives last week, coming up right after this here on KVNU Logan.
For Utah State Aggie fans, KVNU Logan, 102 FM, 610 AM, covering Aggie football like no one else does.